Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Leighanne and I talk about books. So today we're going to be talking about books that I am really excited to read in 2019. Most of these books have been pre-ordered. This is also just the first half of 2019 because we don't really know what's going on in the back half yet, right? So I did one of these videos last year, I think like at the very beginning of the year or something like that, and I didn't end up reading like most of the books that were on that list because and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a different video, just about like channel goals and stuff like that. But I got caught up in a lot of hype at the beginning of last year and at the tail end of 2017 as well. And really in 2018, I really kind of like found my niche and I found what I love and I found what I love to read. And so I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm really excited to read in 2019. Now, one of the things that I'm sure that you guys have noticed about my channel in general is I do focus on a lot of backlist titles. I don't read a ton of new releases. I'm not always talking about like the next biggest thing. So like, for example, when the Trash Goodreads Awards happen, I usually have only read maybe 1 or 2 books from each of those categories because I just don't read a ton of new releases. So, okay, so we're gonna talk about books that I am really excited to read in the first half of 2019. Again, most of these have been pre-ordered. So the first book that I am super excited to read in 2019, already pre-ordered this, is In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. This is the 4th book in the Wayward Children's trilogy. And pretty much what this series is about, if for some reason you haven't heard of it yet, basically it follows the children who have fallen into different portal worlds and they have now made it back to, you know, our world and they no longer know how to function. And so each of these books, again, this is the 4th book, follows different children, you know, in their different worlds. It's really whimsical, it's really magical. I really love Seanan McGuire's writing. They are very short, which makes them very easy to get through. I am absolutely in love with this series, so I can't wait to see what she does with the next one. I don't actually know what the synopsis is, to be completely honest with you. Oh no, I'm pretty sure that this one follows one of the kids whose name I can't remember in like the Goblin Market or something along those lines, so I feel like that should be really interesting. And that one releases on January 8th. Another book that releases on January 8th that I am so excited and I have also already pre-ordered is The Winter of the Witch. This is by Katherine Arden, and this is the 3rd and final book in the Winter Night trilogy. So the first 2 books are Bear and the Nightingale and The Girl in the Tower. This is a fantasy that, kind of fantasy, kind of historical fiction at the same time. But it is set in medieval Russia, and so you have a lot of the customs and everyday life of medieval Russia, as well as some of the like the political goings on that happened during that time period. And then you also have a big piece of it that's like that fantasy and that folklore side of it. And I really loved this series so far. Absolutely magical writing, the settings, like the way that Katherine Arden writes, she really transports you into medieval Russia. I really enjoyed the characters in the book, especially the folklore side, and I also really enjoyed the main character, Vasya. You know, it's set in medieval Russia at a time where women were not allowed to think for themselves. They weren't allowed to do for themselves. It was get married, have kids, take care of the house, that's it. And she's really kind of creating her own destiny. So I'm really excited to see how Katherine Arden really rounds out that trilogy. The next book that I am excited to read, and you guys are going to kind of see a theme, most of these are like series releases because I don't pay that much attention to like new releases in general, but the next book that I'm really excited to read is Kingdom of Copper. This is by S.A. Chakraborty, and this is book 2 in the Deaver trilogy, the first book being The City of Brass, which I read at the tail end of 2017, and it ended up being one of my favorite fantasy books of the year. So this is a like YA kind of new adult fantasy series that focuses in the Middle East. So the first book follows Nari. She is a grifter, I guess you could say. She is really good at like sleight of hand and that kind of thing. And during one of her tricks, she accidentally summons a djinn. Her life is forever changed, and she starts finding things out and starts finding out things about like who she really is. So very obviously this is a fantasy. The descriptions are beautiful. The writing is really beautiful. I'm really excited to see where she goes with the actual narrative. This one comes out January 22nd, and I actually really want to read City of Brass again before I read Kingdom of Copper, But I mean, it comes out on the 22nd, but I probably won't read it until later this year, so I have plenty of time to do that. So that's the thing. Next one comes out on January 29th, and that is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. So this is another book that is set in, you know, the whole Grishaverse that the Grisha trilogy and the Six of Crows duology both set themselves up in. So this follows Nikolai, who I love. And I really just enjoy this world in general. So I'm very, very interested to see what she does with a novel that is just about him. This is supposed to be a duology, and this is one of the most hyped books like in BookTube and YA BookTube right now. And I am not ashamed to say that I'm like 100% here for the hype. I did read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom a couple of weeks ago, and 100% they lived up to the hype. So I am really looking forward to picking up King of Scars. So now we're in February, and the first book in February that releases on February 5th that I am excited to read is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. If you have never heard of Angie Thomas, which I don't know why you wouldn't have, she is the author of The Hate U Give, which is an absolute amazing and important novel that everyone should read. It was made into a film, which I have not had a chance to see yet, but eventually I will see it. But I really, really loved The Hate U Give. It was her debut. I thought she did a wonderful job with it. So one of the things that heavily inspired The Hate U Give is Angie Thomas's love of like Tupac and hip hop music in general. And so that's what this book seems to be centered around. I will go ahead and read the synopsis for you. 16-year-old Bree wants to be one of the greatest rappers of all time, or at least make it out of her neighborhood one day. As the daughter of an underground rap legend who died before he hit it big, Bree's got big shoes to fill. But now that her mom has unexpectedly lost her job, food banks and shut-off notices are as much a part of Bree's life as beats and rhymes. With bills piling up and homelessness staring her family down, Bree no longer just wants to make it, she has to make it. On the Come Up is Angie Thomas's homage to hip-hop, the art that sparked her passion for storytelling and continues to inspire her to this day. It is a story of fighting for your dreams, even as the odds are stacked against you, of the struggles to become who you are and not who everyone expects you to be, and of the desperate realities of poor and working-class Black families. So I think that this is going to be another really good and really important novel from Thomas. So I am really excited to read it and to see that it gets the hype that it deserves. And I think as of filming this, the ARCs have actually officially started coming out for this. So I'm really excited to see what those early reviewers are starting to think. Okay, so now we're going all the way to April, and the next book on my list is Inspection by Josh Malerman. So I read Bird Box from Josh Malerman last year and absolutely loved it, which meant that I got several of his other books. And while none of them have been quite as good as Bird Box, a couple of them have been pretty good. So the synopsis of this one is, Jay is a student at a school deep in a forest far away from the rest of the world. Jay is one of only 26 students, all of whom think of the school's enigmatic founder as their father. Jay's fellow peers are the only family he's ever had. The students are being trained to be prodigies of art, science, and athletics, and their life at school is all they know and all they're allowed to know. But Jay is beginning to suspect that there is something out there beyond the pines and that the founder does not want them to see. And he's beginning to ask questions. What is the real purpose of this place? Why can the students never leave? And what else is their father hiding from them? Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, in a school very much like Jay's, a girl named Kay is asking the same questions. Jay has never seen a girl and Kay has never seen a boy. And as Jay and Kay work to investigate the secrets of their two strange schools, they come to discover something even more mysterious. Each other. So with the schools, it almost seems like a little dystopian. I'm interested to see what that one's going to be like. And that one, if I didn't already say, releases on April 23rd. So now we go into May, and on May 7th, The Bride Test by Helen Hoang releases. And I am really excited about this. So she is the author of The Kiss Quotient, which I read this year and loved. Absolutely outside of my comfort zone, something that I don't usually read, but I ended up getting it from the library and I loved it. It was so good. Absolute surprise that I loved it as much as I did. So this is not a direct sequel, but it is a companion novel following characters from The Kiss Quotient. So that's the thing. Kai has no feelings. Well, he feels irritation when people move his things, or contentment when ledgers balance down to the penny, but not big important emotions like grief and love. He thinks he's defective. His family knows better, that his autism means he just processes emotions differently. And when he steadfastly avoids relationships, his mother takes matters into her own hands and returns to Vietnam to find him the perfect bride. As a mixed-race girl living in the slums of Ho Chi Minh City, Esme Tran has always felt out of place. When the opportunity arises to come to America and meet a potential husband, she can't turn it down, thinking this could be the break her family needs. Seducing Kai, however, doesn't go as planned, and Esme's lessons in love seem to be working, but only for herself. She's hopelessly smitten with a man who's convinced he can never return her affection. Not infection. With Esme's time in the United States dwindling, Kai is forced to understand he's been wrong all along and that there's more than one way to love. So if you're unfamiliar with the Kiss Quotient, it is a romance, but one of the main characters is neurodiverse. She is on the autism spectrum, and it seemed like that's another thing that she's doing. And from my understanding, this is own voices in that way. I don't know for certain whether it's Helen herself who is on the spectrum, or if she has a child who is on the spectrum. But regardless, it is own voices in that way. So, and that's something that I am really glad to see. And I think that that's a really important piece of representation to have. So I am really excited that the Kiss Quotient did as well as it did. And I'm really excited to read The Bride Test too. And the last book that I'm going to talk about today also releases in May. It releases on May 28th. And that is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. So I have been following Mason on Twitter for a hot minute. It's been such an amazing thing to see them go through the process of writing their book and editing and talking about that on the platform and go to querying. And there's a couple of different reasons that this book is so amazing and this book I feel is going to be so important. So I'm gonna read you the synopsis first. When Ben DeBacker comes out to their parents as non-binary, they're thrown out of their house and forced to move in with their estranged older sister, Hannah, and her husband, Thomas, whom Ben has never even met. Struggling with an anxiety disorder compounded by their parents' rejection, they come out only to Hannah, Thomas, and their therapist and try and keep a low profile in a new school. But Ben's attempts to survive the last half of senior year unnoticed are thwarted when Nathan Allen, a funny and charismatic student, decides to take Ben under his wing, and Ben and Nathan's friendship grows. Their feelings for each other begin to change, and what started as a disastrous turn of events looks like it might just be the chance to start a happier new life. At turns heartbreaking and joyous, I Wish You All the Best is both a celebration of life, friendship, and love, and a shining example of hope in the face of adversity. So, sorry for the emotions, but this book is just really important for a multitude of reasons. I have a personal connection with someone who identifies as non-binary, and I know the struggles that they have had. And I just think that if representation like this had been more of a thing when they were growing up, that would have been a lot easier for them, because they had a time of it, let me tell you. And so to see this book coming out, and you know that there's a non-binary protagonist written by someone who's also non-binary, is just absolutely amazing to me. And I'm so excited to see that that this representation is going to be out there for, you know, people that are struggling with that, so that they don't have to struggle the way the people in my life did. I have a sibling who I believe that I was the first person in my family that they came out to. And so for that reason, I just think that this book is really important. And I gotta tell you, I did not expect to have any emotions, but they moved away from me and our family last year. And to see them blossom in the way that they have after like really coming out has been, granted I haven't seen them in a really long time, but it's been really amazing to be able to see that and to really see them finally be themselves. I'm gonna pull it together now so I can end this video. What is up? So now that that's over, I really didn't mean to do that. And I'm standing here thinking about, okay, well, I can edit it all out, but I don't think that I want to do that, because I want people to understand how important this type of representation is. So yeah, that's a thing. I was just looking at my list and I literally skipped over a whole book on my list. So it's fine. Everything's fine. So those are the books. So those are the books that I'm really excited to read in 2019. All of these books have been pre-ordered. So what releases are you really excited about in 2019? Comment down below and let me know. Maybe something slipped through my radar. I don't really have any horror releases on there because I'm not super sure what horror releases are coming out next year. So I really need to look into that one. Well, there's some in the last half of the year that have been announced, but that's going to be a separate video. So anyway, if you like what you see, if you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you click thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't already. I promise you, this is literally the first video I've ever cried in, ever. And I feel like it was for a good reason. So anyway, no, my videos are not filled with tears. I read horror. I'm not a crier. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.